episode of Talking Bollocks. Hello, it is me, your host, Howard H. Smith. You kind of knew that anyway, didn't you? If you're here, you kind of knew. Well, I am the lead singer with UK thrash band Acid Rain. I am also a stand-up comedian, performing as the character Keith Platt, possibly at a venue near you soon, one day, hopefully, you never know. And I also present the Motorcast, the official Motorhead podcast. Well, I'm going to throw something else in there as well. Wherever you're listening to this, on whatever device, there is a description of the podcast. And in that description, there will be a link saying The Reducer. The Reducer is a podcast. There's only 3 episodes old. They're not particularly regular, but we're going to try and improve on that. And it's myself and 2 friends who I have known for 25, 30 years, which is David Klein and Dave Rothney. We met doing stand-up. Dave Klein is a writer and filmmaker. And Dave Rothney, who's a stand-up comedian, runs his own club and is also an independent journalist. And so we basically, like the title suggests, we try and reduce a topic down to its bare bones by talking about it and swearing a lot and trying to make each other laugh. So there you go. If that sounds interesting, The Reducer, the link is in the description of the podcast. Go and subscribe. Let me know what you think. So, hey, it's about time, isn't it? Now we've got my ego out of the way. It's about time for what's been happening in the world of metal since we last spoke. Well, here is the news. It's slightly, it's going to be, massively truncated because I am going to do it like this. So the news is, Dee Schneider of Twisted Sister says he got $300,000 for I Want to Rock version for the version of I Want to Rock in SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Awesome. Cool, that's that story. Next up, Helloween, new album cracks top 10 in more than 10 countries. Well done, Helloween. Nice to have you back. Even if you have got 2 singers. It's a bit mad, but it seems to be working. Next up, it's Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx celebrates 20 years of sobriety. Well, there you go. Aren't we all really pleased for Nikki? Stay off the sauce, Nikki. You do good stuff when you're not on the sauce. And next up, Alex Lifeson says there's no way Rush will ever exist again. Believed the band's final tour couldn't have been better. Yeah. Are you listening, Portnoy? That's where you heard it from. Alex Lifeson. And Gojira announced 2022 European tour with Alien Weaponry and Employed to Serve. A good bill if you like any of those bands. And if you do, you're in heaven, aren't you, really? But there's something for everyone on that bill. Isn't that nice? Yes. And we've also got Anthrax's Frank Bello says writing his memoir has been cathartic. I think I needed to do it. Well, pleased for you, Frank. I'm not rushing to read it. I will get round to it. But, it's cool. And it's clearly helped him out. So we're all pleased about that, aren't we? Yeah, exactly. So that's the end of the news. Now, hang on a second. Bit of dry mouth. The presenters / talkative bastards curse. The reason I've gone through everything so quickly is I've just had a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine, my best mate called Anthony, who I had him on the Slipknot episode when I did a special episode for when they released their first single ahead of the new album. That's in case you remember him. Anyway, we had this conversation, and we talked about metal as we do, and he made 2 really, really interesting points. And it just got me thinking, and I wanted to see what you guys thought as well. I said, so, what are you listening to at the moment? And he said, nothing. And I was like, right, okay. And he was like, yeah, I'm looking for something, but I can't find it. There's nothing out there that's really grabbing me, that's making me go, right, yes, whoa, that is it. And I was like, right, okay, is that just, are you being realistic here, and he made the point. Well, he basically said that he felt that metal as a genre, we were just stagnating a bit for a while now, that there's no it's almost like he feels like the whole scene is in a holding pattern, waiting for the next the next big thing, the next departure, the next big genre to come along. And I thought, it was weird because we were having a chat, and I literally I was on my earphones, and I just stopped what I was doing. I was walking, and I just stopped, and I just say that again. I just thought he might have a point, I mean, it's as long as I can remember, there's always been that sort of almost dominant genre of metal that is getting more attention than everything else, and it's breaking mainstream, and everywhere you look, every website's got stories on bands who all play this kind of stuff because it's in vogue right now. And I was thinking, yeah, it's a long time, isn't it? It's a long time since, I mean, when was the last one? Maybe new metal, I mean, before that it was grunge. And we had hair metal and thrash, but there was quite a gap between hair metal and thrash, and it kind of feels like we're about due, aren't we? We're about due for the next big genre to come along and lead the way and take us out of and just basically, I don't know, shine a light, bring something new. God, we had rap metal as well, didn't we? And funk metal. I'd forgotten about that. I mean, they're not all successes, are they? It's not a case of everyone's a winner. It's, you just got to, well, that's it. But that's the nature of experimentation, isn't it? Not everyone's going to like what you do. But it's weird because, I just don't remember the last time I remember looking at a website or seeing a magazine. It's like, oh God, this kind of music again. Like, oh, they're all wearing check shirts or they're all wearing corpse paint or whatever. But it's not. It's a long time since that happened, and I just kind of wonder if no, I think we are. I think we are due for that to change. There's always been. I mean, when it was thrash dominating all the press and the scene and the world of metal, of course, I didn't notice because I loved it, and so I was bang up for it. But then, you see genres come along that you might not be particularly fans of, like new metal, and I say that for you, the benefit of the listener, because I quite liked a fair amount of new metal. But anyway, it's just not happening, is it? It's not. There's nothing out there that's. And don't get me wrong, it's not always a good thing. I mean, I don't think. Am I really going to go there? Am I going to try and slag off grunge? Am I going to? And yet, then I'm going to espouse the joys of new metal. I mean, that's not really. Is that who I am? Is that how? That sounds like the wrong side of history to me. What can I say? Look, all genres, anything that happens is positive. That's my thing. Even if the music sucks, right? Even if the music sucks at the time, you may that music may end up bringing somebody to metal who then finds Metallica, finds Voivod, finds fucking Soundgarden, whatever, and then they are in the scene, and they may go on to create stuff as well and expand the scene. I mean. Look, you can say as many derogatory comments as you like about Limp Bizkit, and everybody has over the years. But there was a minute there when they shone a light on playing really heavy music and people really liking it, and it's selling massive amounts. Now, I know a lot of people think that commercialism is bad, popularity is bad. Well, we're like that, aren't we? Metal scene is insular. We're all very proud of our scene, and if something comes along that we consider is contaminating it, like Limp Bizkit, and I do quite like some Limp Bizkit, so I'm not. They're just the example. I haven't got a dog in this fight, but when someone comes along, we don't have to look down our fucking noses at it. Oh God, don't we? Hey, oh, and then when it's successful, we use that as proof of how shit it is. When they, when they're selling millions and they're on every, they're on every music channel you can imagine, and their videos are going viral and everything, but we're looking down our noses and using that massive success as our validation that look how shit it is. Millions of people like it. Everyone likes it. It must be shit because our favourite bands. Nowhere near that amount of people like them, so that they must be shit. I mean, it is kind of weird that when anyone smashes it really big, we all do, and I include myself in this sort of, well, maybe I don't sort of look down my nose on it. I probably did as a kid, and like bands selling out, and But I think as you get older, you're pleased for people's success, you know, and you think, wow, that's really cool, you know, if that deep into your career, you know, you can have a big album, then go for it. And even if it's somebody, you know, starting out like a Limp Bizkit and they blow up, good for them, you know, success, that could be very fleeting. You know, I've just done what I hate, and that's put the word very in front of a word that doesn't need very in front of it. I do apologise. But yeah, success can be really fleeting. They might never have anything like that again. Dry mouth is killing me, sorry. So I guess what I'm saying is, without a new big genre coming along and selling a shitload of records and going mainstream and all of us hating it, it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But what I'm saying is, when these things happen, it's a good thing. It's like, you know, when you're watching those documentaries and there's a forest fire and you see all the animals are running for their lives and all that, and you think, oh, isn't that terrible? Oh, it's awful. And you know, they I was going to say the commentator, they don't commentate on nature programs. And the fire is burning the forest down. It's burning the forest down. Oh yeah, and the fire is burning the forest down. And he's now, it's moved on to it's into town. It's into town now. It's taking sheds as well. No, obviously it's narrator. Sorry. So the narrator is narrating this forest and describing it, you know, going up in flames, and you're seeing all the plants, and you say, and even the badgers are running away. Hopefully they'll make it, and you know, something like that. And then it pauses, and then from the ash you start seeing these little green shoots coming through, and you think, right. And then the tone of the narrator has softened, but from destruction comes new life. And the forest is reborn even better. So what I'm saying is, well, you get it, don't you? Obviously. I mean, if you don't, then I've really just wasted mine and your time for the last minute doing all of that fucking documentary bullshit. It should be a good thing. And we're kind of due one, you know? It's almost like the opposite of a cull, you know. It is the opposite of a cull. It's somebody blowing up and getting even bigger. But I'd just like to see where we're going with this awesome music that we all love so much, you know, because we dedicate huge parts of our time, money, and attention following, you know, metal. I mean, everybody I know is into metal. If you're listening to this podcast, right, you check metal websites for the news. Fuck me, please tell me you do. Because if you're getting it from me, Jesus, you need to put in a little bit more effort, okay? You know, then if you listen to this, you might even have a metal radio station app on your phone or whatever. You know, there is a certain amount of dedication / obsession about us, and we care deeply about, you know, our music, and that's why I want to see the next event, the next iteration of metal, of where we're going, and you know, who's doing it and what it sounds like. And if you think that it's already around, and by that I don't mean like, you know, oh, check this band out, they don't sound like anyone else, isn't it amazing? I get that, right? But what I'm saying is, check this band out, isn't it amazing? No one's doing what they're doing, and no one's done what they've done, and they're on the verge of like blowing up. Do you know what I mean? If you've got like one song on a split 7-inch, I ain't fucking interested. But if you've got some suggestions, hit me up on social media, folks. Come on, you know the routine. At Talking Bollocks, ending with a Z, not an S. That's on Twitter, and it's the same on Instagram, same on Facebook. So come find me and let me know. See what you think. Or am I talking utter bullshit? I'd love you to throw that one at me as well. And the conversation continued with my friend Anthony, and he was saying, you know, like I was just saying, I check Blabbermouth, you know, most days, and he said, yeah, and I went through 2 pages the other day, and the biggest story on there was about Don Dokken. Who gives a fuck about Don Dokken? His words, not mine. Don't sue me, Don. But I know what he means. It's like, you go through pages and pages of blabbermouth now, and it's like, Dave Mustaine has reduced his Californian mansion by 500,000. It is now 3.1 million. And then a load of people commenting underneath going, oh, yeah, nice one, Dave. Oh, Dave's got a load of money. Or, whatever. And then, then there's another story. And another story. Oh, Vince Neil. Vince Neil's had a barbecue and some mates round. Right, okay, cool. And we just seem to have turned into this. I know I've mentioned this before, but, I'm now, instead of doing the news, I'm basically slagging off the news because there is no fucking news. And this is what led to the conversation between Anthony and myself about, everything stagnating. Right, okay, I'm going to have to pause there because it started fucking raining and I'm going to have to bring my clothes in because they're drying. Oh, fuck! And via the miracle of the pause button, I'm back. Well, it's a thunderstorm, actually. It's gone very dark. How fucking metal am I, right? Fucking, yeah! Recording the podcast, it's so fucking metal, I've made the heavens angry, and it is now dark, pissing down with rain. And that's pissed off the parakeets as well. So you occasionally will hear squawks occasionally, or you've already noticed that occasionally you hear squawks in the background of interviews that I do, or indeed of these rambling intros. And that is the wild parakeets that have started living nearby and feed on my balcony. Anyway, that was a nice fucking interlude, wasn't it? So, as I was saying to Anthony, he was saying to me, I've got to go through pages and pages of blabbermouth, all this absolute crap, this fucking entertainment fucking gossip, and you're looking for a story on a band that you haven't heard of, or a band who have, released a third album and everyone's saying it's amazing, and that, they really have completely overused phrase, most fucking annoying thing ever, captured lightning in a bottle. Really? Have they? Has somebody genuinely done that musically? Then let's fucking hear it. Yes, great. That is and I got what you were saying, going through the news stories. It's like, no, I don't want to know what fucking Ted Nugent thinks about vaccines. No, I don't want to know about, property prices. No, I don't want to see who's got engaged. Well, I mean, look, what I'm saying is there's not a lot of news around at the moment, but it's rolling news, and that's we're just part of that world now, and that's where the metal community lives online as much as anywhere else. So, anyway, it's about time I got into an interview, isn't it? So that was the most rambly intro in a while, wasn't it? So don't worry, you didn't do anything in particular to deserve that. That was purely just fallen out of my head, having had an interesting conversation today. So there you go. It doesn't take much to inspire me, just a mere simple conversation, and I'm off, I'm away. Anyway, it's now time for the interview, one that I really enjoyed doing because, of course, it was with Jayce Lewis, who I know very well and I've worked with very well, and he produced our last album. He's great to work with, recording vocals, etc., which is going to be something that comes up because, of course, Burton C Bell is also a vocalist who I haven't had the opportunity. Well, we've met, but like fleetingly, literally walked past each other and we're like, oh yeah, hi. That was that. So anyway, we had a really, really good chat. This is all about Ascension of the Watchers, which is Burton's new project. It's a full-on band. So don't be thinking that he's going back to Fear Factory anytime soon. But then again, you'll hear that from Burton himself in the not too distant future. So the band have put out an album, Apocrypha, which I'm sure you all know. You all know this and you've all heard it, etc. But there's also an awesome package coming out. They're bringing out, well, you're going to hear all about it, but there's, a 2 CD version with translations, which is the whole album remixed as well. And it's all really, 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 really cool. So, ascensionofthewatchers.com, how easy is that? So, if you like the sound of what we're talking about, just nip straight to ascensionofthewatchers.com after the interview and you'll be able to find out all that stuff. And you know what? I'll even put a link in the podcast. That's nice of me, isn't it? Anyway, without further ado, here is myself, Burton and Jayce having a chat the other day.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, definitely hear you.
Excellent.
Yeah, the technology.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Squire. How you doing? I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Yes, I'm doing all right, doing good.
I kind of feel like I'm in between two sort of, two people who are having a long distance relationship, and I'm getting in the way.
Yeah, you're part of a. It's called a squire sandwich, and you're the cheese.
Oh well, yeah. Now I know. Now I know what it feels like to be cheese in a burger.
I'm actually. It's actually 1:00 for me. I'm on the East Coast now.
Oh right.
So I'm actually driving. As we are speaking.
Oh right. This is brilliant. This couldn't get any more complicated. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I got hands free. I'm like Squire's new car.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Insane. I got a really lovely new car, and yet I got no I've got no sat nav. I've got no hands free.
Yeah.
But I do have 480 horsepower, which is, I'm not going to complain. I'm happy with that bit.
12 cylinders of death.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, I think probably the best way this is going to work is if I ask the question to one of you, so one of you gets a chance to answer it, and if the other has something to add to it as well, come in after that, because I think otherwise we're going to end up.
It'll get cluttered.
Yeah, it's going to get very cluttered.
Yeah,
that sounds like a plan to me.
Cool, brilliant.
Me too.
Brilliant. Okay, well, look, first question to you, Burton. Ascension of the Watchers all came about quite a few years ago. When did you think of Jayce for the project?
It was probably when the first time I went over there. Jayce was 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
2016, and Jayce invited me over to Wales. I happened to be in Europe at the time, so I made the time to go visit him after Christmas, over a New Year's holiday, and I had a couple ideas, and Jayce was like, hey, we can record these ideas, let me come check out the studio. And while we were there, Jayce and I just seemed to hit it off really well, and Jayce knew exactly what I wanted to achieve, and had better ideas of how to achieve it, and just kind of organically grew into this great partnership.
Is that how it kind of is that your recollection, Jayce, as well?
Yeah, it was. Yes, I hadn't long opened up North Zone Studios, and yeah, it was sort of getting a few people in, and just more trying to experiment with the studio, see what the studio would sound like, and all of that. And it just so happened that the timing of that was perfect with what Burton wanted to do with the Watchers. Yeah, it was like a partnership made in heaven, really.
When it was, it's just kind of, we'd been speaking together or to each other over several years prior, and I always wanted to come over and visit Jayce and check out his studio. And he said he had been building one for a couple of years, and he said it was finally finished. He said, "Yeah, come on over." And as we were recording the ideas that I had, Jayce offered to play drums. I was like, "Oh, great, why not?" And it just worked out. As a drummer and as a producer.
That is quite surprising. Because obviously you'd been talking for a few years. It just strikes me as quite unusual that the fact that you just kind of looked at a studio and you felt comfortable enough after just a couple of hours to start putting ideas out there.
Well, absolutely. It was. I mean, honestly, it took some time. The comfort came in, but it was Jayce. It was not just the studio, but it was Jayce as well. The way he was able to really just communicate and help me. It was Jayce that really helped me feel comfortable, and it was he was able to get these ideas out, and yeah, it was a lot of things. It was. I don't know, how would you say it, Jayce? It was just, kind of...
It was just a good vibe. Yeah, it was like a natural vibe, and I think the magic kind of really started to happen when, I'd have like Burton's riff, and then start producing a song and writing a lot of synths that I was doing on FL Studio, and that's where I really felt like a real gelling of our ideas and direction, because the two songs that we did together was Ghost Heart and The End Is Always the Beginning. Bert had there was two brand new ideas. Bert had lyrics and these guitar riffs, but then putting them together with a structure, bringing in the structure and of course synthesizer work in FL Studio. I felt that's what really sort of launched the comfort in and excitement in working together on the whole album.
Absolutely.
Really, it was the starting point.
Yeah, it was a flashpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
And how did you find it recording vocals with Jayce? I mean, I'm biased because obviously, I don't know if you know this, but Jayce recorded my band Acid Rain's album, and
I'm familiar with it, yes.
And he and I might add did a brilliant job. And I've found working with Jayce in the studio as a vocalist, just the two of us, I've found it probably the easiest and most enjoyable sessions I've ever done. How did you find it?
I thought it was fine. Jayce helped me find my voice again. Really, it was he was a great proponent in making that happen, and it just worked. Nothing could have it kind of all fell together really perfectly, actually.
Yeah.
Working with Jayce was fine. Jayce is a vocalist himself, so he understands what it takes, and
yeah.
He knows how to massage the vocals. He knows how to massage the vocals. He knows how to get the best performance. He knows how to produce vocals the best way possible.
Yeah.
And so obviously, I've done vocals for a long time as well. So us working together and the techniques that we did is, it just all came out really, really well.
Well, I mean, you sound, and that comes across on the recording. It really does. I mean, it's your voice on that, your voice on the album. It's never sounded better.
Well, thanks. That was the goal.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good fun, and it was like sort of carrying on from Bert, because I was familiar with his work. There was a sort of certain style that Burton used to do that he hadn't done for many, many years. So I really wanted to see if we could get that style back, and it was like blowing dust off old pipes. But when he really got on form, man, it was magical, and it was magical. Because with me, I don't particularly. I try to stay away from using too much polishing up sort of techniques and software like auto-tune and all. I try to get the best out of people, and Bert was delivering all the time, just bam, bam, one after another, and no auto-tune was used. So what you're hearing there is the natural pocket that sort of Burton sits in the most comfortably, and it made sense because all the records that he did years ago, it worked then. I mean, that's what gave him that sound and a technique and ability. So it was, in the end, it became quite an easy task, and it sounds so rich and full and powerful, as it should.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, it sounds huge. It really does. But I'm interested in, obviously you've got this incredible package coming out. This double CD package with remixes. And I feel like a bit of a cheat, really, because I know the answer to this question because I spoke to you recently, Jayce. But for everybody, for everyone listening, so how did all of this come about? How did the double disc remixes and how did all that happen?
You can take it.
Oh, okay. Funny enough, me and Bert spoke about remixes years ago. In fact, it was. I can remember when we were speaking about Ascension of the Watchers that there was an element of Fear Factory, the remanufacture CD, and Fear is a Mind Killer. I really loved those remix elements to the band. I thought it was groundbreaking to sort of bring a lot of dance electronica to extreme metal kind of thing. I thought it was. I hadn't heard anyone do that, and for a little while, I tried to nudge or encourage maybe the Watchers should go that way. But Bert was kind of like, this is the vision I have for it. So I was able to bring more of a tribal percussion and bring some synths into that, of course, along with John Bechdel, who did keyboard works as well. But then because of lockdown, we were going to head out on tour and lockdown happened. So it was kind of the perfect opportunity to have that conversation again, and no better album than Apocrypha to remix, because the songs on it are just explosive, so.
And this style of music actually suits very well for remixes in general.
Yeah.
It just all made sense. To me, it completely makes sense. Why not? This is a style of music that Jayce has always liked, I've always liked. I haven't always had the opportunity to express that, and here was the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's something I've got to follow up on. Was it how did it feel having so much creative control within the project, Burton, having maybe not had as much control in the past?
It felt great. It was liberating. Yeah. It was absolutely liberating.
I bet.
And, to let these other artists, not just Jayce and John, but these other producers, to express themselves, to reinterpret these songs in their own manner without really having much input at all, was exciting at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine, and yeah, liberating is the word, especially if you're, if you've been in an oppressive relationship. That freedom feels even better.
Absolutely, but the liberation was just, you can hear it in the release of translations, and even in Apocrypha, you can hear the liberation in everything. It's just sounds powerful and it just sounds free.
And I think from your point of view, Jayce, it was the whole remix project. That's right in your that's right up your alley, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And funny how things work out, because I can remember. Listening to the likes of sort of Demanufacture and really liking that, but then I think my imagination and excitement really got onto a high when I was listening to Remanufacture. I mean, that blew my mind, and it opened up my sort of visions really for what I would like to do eventually someday as a solo artist. So for it to sort of come full circle and then get to do that with Burton, it's almost like a favor returned, because it did so much for me back in the day. But given that I've come on as a producer, and this is my sort of style of music that I enjoy doing, it was quite a spooky moment to just be, putting Bert's vocals on dance tracks that I wanted to do and music that I was involved in, some small parts of writing and producing it and mixing it. So it was, it felt right. It all just felt like a good belonging, and I just love the fact that I can hear Burton's voice on a remix again. For me, hearing Burton's voice on sort of dance stuff, it just goes hand in hand.
It's really cool. For me, it was exciting. It's like, wow, I haven't heard this in a while.
Yeah.
And, it was really exciting. It was, for me, it's fresh, and I think it's obviously not every fan is going to enjoy it, but just like remanufacture, we knew that going into remanufacture. So it's the same thing. It's like, not every fan's going to enjoy it, but there's going to be a lot of fans that will.
And I guess it's part of that liberating process that you're doing something like this again, and you're able to sort of push the boundaries of your fan base, and and find
Absolutely.
out what they can go with.
Absolutely, and I think it's like I said, not for everybody, but there's a lot of people who are going to dig it.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. And Jayce, you said that it was it was kind of spooky, with putting a mix together with Burton singing on it, and of course that's because what we haven't sort of mentioned, and probably should, is that you are a full on proper Fear Factory fan.
Yeah. Well, I've been following Bert's career since '91, and again, that played hand in hand with, played hand in hand when I was producing his vocals and all that, because I was so familiar of what I liked and what I didn't like, and the early stuff of Bert was incredible, vocally. I really enjoyed it. So, here I am doing a remix album with the man, and putting his vocals on compositions of remix that I put together. So it is things happen that way. It's like a butterfly effect. But I'm just so glad.
And Jayce has that ability in his life to really speak to the universe early on and make things happen. And lo and behold, here you go. Jayce works with me later on in his life. That's it just shows the power of the mind.
Well, I've got to be honest with you, Burton. It was very much the same with me. He'd always wanted to work with me, and I decided eventually.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, you say anything.
You say life works.
Yeah, you say anything different, Jayce, and I will cry.
Oh no! I was born to work with acid rain.
Excellent.
Yeah, completely believable as always. It took time as well. I mean, there's kind of interviews with you two, 3-4 years ago talking about Ascension of the Watchers, but it took time to come together. Was that just scheduling and stuff like that, or were there other things at work?
It's hard to explain. It just happened when it happened. Really, it's just the time. It happened. It was perfect timing. The world coming together. Worlds colliding, worlds falling apart. It just time was right.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, as you said, Jayce, the pandemic actually worked in your favour. Is this, is the remix project something that you had in mind anyway, or is it just something that right? I've got nothing to do. I'm just going to sort of remix some tunes.
Instead of touring, like Jay said before, we wanted to keep the relevance of the band, in the forefront as much as possible.
Right.
But touring was not possible. It turned out with, like you said, timing. The label Cherry Red taking a hold of our album and the rights to the album. We're like, hey, you know, it's perfect timing. Let's see what Cherry Red can do for us. And Jayce was the proponent of making this happen.
Right. So you were the one trying to get the remix project off the ground then, Jayce?
I wouldn't say get it off the ground. Burton was speaking to a chap in Germany called Stefan, who had already pulled a remix together for Bert. But I certainly wanted to, like I've done with the Apocrypha album, you know, I sort of handled the business element of it, getting it signed and getting some money up front from a label, and you know, made ourselves known to Cherry Red when they bought out Dissonance Records. And yeah, you know, it was just a simple thing of saying, this is what we're going to do. Would you like to get behind it? And I think I sent about 3 or 4 remixes, and Dan at Cherry Red was blowing up about it and was like, yep, you know, really, really into the idea. And as, you know, taking opportunity as well of the world being in lockdown. So, yeah, you know, it's the lockdown that really gave birth to the remix album.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's always cool, even for a bunch of wizened old pros like ourselves. Isn't it nice when the label shows enthusiasm about anything?
Yeah, well, luckily we had our addition. That's Ascension of the Watchers being a new addition to Cherry Red. It's also in alignment with a new addition to Cherry Red itself. And that's they hired Dan Tobin to take over a bunch of new things, and so luckily Jayce reached out to Dan, and Dan Tobin was our go-to guy. And Dan Tobin, he used to work for Earache Records back in the day, and apparently we had not worked together before, but might have crossed paths in the past before. And you know, just kind of one of those things. It was the timing couldn't have been perfect. And Dan was excited to get this happening as well.
That's awesome, man. It's you know, I mean, anyone listening to this who's going to be after this, because obviously there's, you know, there are clips available that people can already see, already hear, and the response to the album has been, you know, for an outsider looking in, has been phenomenal. How do you know, Jayce first, and then Burton? You know, how do you, you know, you're happy with how it's been received? Are you pleased about, you know, the way it's gone down?
Well, translations or Apocrypha or both?
Apocrypha.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we were. I mean, I am really, really surprised. I mean, Ghost Heart was what was and still is being received so well. I mean, that seems to be the anthem of the record for sure. You know, I think luckily the whole album has been written so well, and obviously been produced decently and packaged as it should.
Decently.
All right, fantastically.
That's better. That's better.
You know, awesomely fantastic, just amazing in every way. The dynamics of production, the EQing, all the compression that was put on. I mean, it was really quite. You know, my God, it was. Wow,
dude, you know, the production is nearly up to Acid Rain standards.
Yeah, nearly. Yes. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it's been very reassuring to hear the feedback of everybody, especially as well during that time. It was quite difficult because obviously Burton had sort of departed from Fear Factory, and you know, we thought that might overshadow it in some way. But the album stood on its own, still does, on its own feet. It's got legs, you know, for its own right, and you know, giving birth to like translations. You know, people are excited about that. It's like an old format that that was so synonymous to Burton back in the day is back again, just in a different medium, which is Ascension of the Watchers. So it feels like a comfy pair of shoes,
Yeah.
I am very proud of this record. I'm proud of the work that we all did on it. I'm proud of the production that Jayce achieved on it. I released the record I've been trying to release for a long time, and like I said, I'm proud of it, and I'm pleased that it's getting good response. I knew it would, and I knew there would be a lot of diversity with it. A lot of people would be negative towards it, and but I don't write records for other people. I write records for myself, and therefore I'm very proud of what I've done. And I'm sure people will follow. People will follow what they like.
Yeah, and does this feel like a bit of a rebirth in your personal career, Burton?
Yeah, it's kind of a new beginning, and I'm very fortunate that I have the career that I've had. Not start at ground level, but still am restarting a whole new career, and with Jayce and with John, and it's exciting. There's a whole lot of new ground to cover, and I'm just looking forward to playing live, really.
And well, that leads me to two questions really. Firstly, was it it's I would imagine it's been a long time since you've been feeling kind of excited about music in general, but certainly, playing live and a new release coming out that is really what you feel you were, put here to do.
Exactly. I mean, I'm very excited, almost anxious with the anticipation of what I got a lot. I don't know if I got a lot of expectations, but it's could be exciting getting out there, and makes me anxious to think about playing live. And it's like, this it's going to be a whole new thing. And it's getting out there live is just what's going to prove people that this is real.
Yeah. There are probably still people out there who think that it's a kind of a one-off project, and you'll be back in Fear Factory one day. But that's kind of, that's what they want, as opposed to what's actually going to happen, which is you carving out a whole new career.
Exactly. Fans are going to want what they want, but here's the reality, and the reality is that I'm moving forward with Ascension of the Watchers. Yeah,
absolutely. And Jayce, are you excited about playing live as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm to be honest with you, I'm just really excited to get back on the drums.
Yeah.
I mean, that for me is where it all began years ago, being a drummer, and. Again, it's like a full circle kind of thing. I'm back on drums again, and back on drums with a very dear friend and who was an inspiration to me years ago. And life couldn't be better, really. I'm
thank you, Chuck.
Oh, you're welcome, Squire. That's $50. But
I'll PayPal you later.
Thank you very much, friends and family. But basically, it's
you don't need me on this call. Gee, I can just record the call.
Jayce and I go on forever with this kind of shit.
Yeah, we're like two old ladies. But more importantly with that, we got a great friendship, and when we hang out, it's a party, So I'm looking forward to that just as much as getting on drums and sort of playing on stage with Bert again,
Yeah, absolutely. Because obviously it's you've been used in. Well, you're both kind of having a bit of a rebirth and doing something completely different at the same time. It's a sort of similar-ish but different journey for both of you.
That's right.
It is.
That's right.
It is. Yeah.
and it's kind of weird because it's like, you know, you Jayce, you know, your band was very much, you know, the Jayce Lewis band, Burton, you were kind of, you know, you're fronting Fear Factory, but now it's kind of, it's almost like Jayce, you're going back to the days of being a drummer, and Burton, you're stepping forward to sort of, you know, lead the project as a whole. That kind of role reversal, there must be a certain amount of kind of feeling of, oh, right, this is, you know, I kind of remember this, but it's very old.
Well, my solo career as a vocalist, which is what I certainly in the Asian market and parts of Europe, you know, that happened out of an accident. Really, I didn't even. I mean, if the truth be known, I wasn't and never was very comfortable in being a frontman, and barely spoke on stage. But I did it because I was so frustrated in being in the background as a drummer that if the band fell apart, I'd be out of a job. You know, I couldn't just be a singer with a guitar and do my own thing. So I really put a lot of pressure on myself to just be robust and you know, that I'm not sort of exposed that way. So having done that and then getting an opportunity to get back on drums, which is really where my heart really is, makes perfect sense. You know, it makes perfect sense. I love it.
And that's really cool. I mean, it's you know, is it fair to say you're sort of falling back in love with the drums, or you never fell out of love? It's just getting to do it again.
Yeah, I never fell out of love with drums, but you kind of you know, you really are redundant when a band ends or whatever. You know, you sort of, that's it. Guitarists and vocalists just seem to survive, but drummers and certainly bass players, you know, it's kind of a it's kind of a hard deal. So I really just had a bit of an idea and threw it out there, and then got signed to EMI, which I just didn't think. If I'm honest, I didn't think it would really happen, and it did. But I have always been itching to get back on drums, so here we are. And you know, who not best to do it with but my good friend Bert and John Bechdel. So yeah, great.
Jayce is not just a drummer. He's, you know, he's a partner, and as he's helping things happen, you know, it's friendship more than anything else, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm just going to say the obvious thing. That must make a really nice change for you, Burton.
Yes, it does. It's like it's a breath of fresh air.
God, I tell you what, there was a long pause before you answered that. I thought, I don't know, I might have pushed the boundaries a bit too far here.
No, I answered the way I wanted to.
Yeah, that's cool. And look, speaking of which, I've got to go there. Obviously, there's a new Fear Factory album. You're on it. I mean, it must be kind of weird that which is, you know, recorded a good few years ago, is sort of, you know, rearing its head again. When you're kind of in the middle of starting a completely different career.
Yeah, it's an old record. That record was finished in 2017, delivered, accepted by everybody, and it's not technically the album we delivered back in 2017, but you know, I'm proud of everything I've done, and I'm just moving forward. So it's, people seem to like it. I mean, it's typical Fear Factory. It's not really breaking boundaries or anything, but it's, you know, it's what Fear Factory fans want.
And are you kind of happy to have that as your sign off from the band?
I'm not happy or sad. I'm just happy to moving forward.
Yeah. And you know, making Ascension of the Watchers a thing that people associate you with, as opposed to the old band.
Well, they're always going to associate me with Fear Factory because there's like 10, 11 records with me singing on it. So, Fear Factory fans are going to say, "Oh, we're going to miss you in Fear Factory." I'm like, really? Still got 10 records to listen to. I mean, and really technically only listened to 2 of them. So it's...
Well, people are greedy, aren't they? They just want more. It's like, I like this and I want more.
Yeah, well, that's what they want, and more power to them. But they have one last record, and there it is.
Yeah, and so you guys, you're gonna play some live shows. Is there any, you're about to put out this, and it's a fantastic looking package. I can't wait to get my hands on it myself. Is there any thoughts or any kind of kernels of ideas for a follow-up album?
I'm already writing new stuff.
And you, Jayce?
I got ideas.
Well, yeah. I mean, Bert's been sending me a few songs.
Demo, just like early demo stuff.
Yeah, managed to get sort of Burton familiar with Logic X, with Logic Pro, and now that he's got his hands on that and head around it, it's stuff is sounding great, and I've already been getting some demo stuff, some early sort of demo phased songs, and I'm already getting ideas together, so. The follow-up to Apocrypha and translations is in the making, yes.
And that's great. The fact as well that it's, I mean, I know personally from being in the, having that experience of started to work on stuff and getting really excited, and you can't wait to get in the studio and get to work on it. But that's months down the line, whereas you can literally sort of start working on it whenever you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we did, when we did Apocrypha, I had a few demo ideas from Burton, which he did with John and with Adu, a guy called Adu, and they were already written and they'd been already done over the span of between 8 to 10 years, whereas the 2 singles that were released. The End Is Always the Beginning and Ghost Heart. I mean, I was involved with those being constructed at the time. And so those songs for me sound, although the production is all the same, but those 2 songs there, they just have something different. And I think it was because my injection of idea and things with drums and all of that as well. So for us to have that at the beginning of this follow-up is going to develop, isn't it, Bert?
Yeah, the ideas are developing further. How I want the Watchers to sound is developed.
Oh, well, that sounds. Yeah. That's never a good sound.
I think he's gone through the Hollywood Hills. That's what happens when you're on the phone.
Hello?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's in Northridge now. Yep, we had them.
I'm in Virginia.
Virginia.
Oh well, yeah, but say hello to Virginia for me.
Yeah.
It's but so like working.
She says hi back.
Keep your eyes on the road, dude. I wanted to ask you, Burton, when you say like how I want the Watchers to sound, is there, can you kind of expand on that? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I believe Ascension of the Watchers is my baby. It's my brainchild.
Yeah.
It's it's the music that comes from my soul. That it's my passion that I think about. So for me, when I say it's the sound that I want, I really have a vision when I have an idea, I see the big picture. I can hear the big picture. It's just getting to that point. And Jayce is the one who can actually pinpoint my thought processes, and he can understand what I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to get across. He can extrapolate from all that. So Jayce is a very big part of making that sound happen. Like for instance, when I have a sound, I have a guitar idea, whatever. In the past, I had this idea and would have the guitar part down or bass part down. I would go to John. I'm like, John, this is what I hear in my mind. And I would explain, like, I have a sound like this, I have a sound like this. I would give examples of other keyboard parts from like songs that I liked or soundtracks that I liked. It's like, John, can you try and do this? And I do the same for Jayce. Jayce, this is what I hear. Can you do this? And they would both achieve it. Now that I'm working with, Jayce, like Jayce said, he got me working Logic Pro, and I'm wrapping my head around that. Now I know I have a good idea how to achieve those sounds myself. So that's even more helpful.
Yeah, and again, I the word that keeps springing to mind is liberating as well. I mean, this deep into your career to be doing something that you are so passionate about, that is the music that touches your soul, and being able to really get your hands into the creative process as well. This really is just a kind of, I'm sorry, I'm going to be cheesy and use the word, it's kind of a magical time.
It is magical. I never thought I'd be like an engineer. Honestly, making this stuff. Not that I have an engineer like Jayce or anything like that, but to actually make these demos happen on my own, of having to rely on other people, is absolutely liberating. And I don't have to worry about taking other people's time to make this stuff happen. Nor do I have to wait for somebody else to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, nor do you have to nag somebody else again and again and again to make things happen.
Exactly. So, liberation. It's a great feeling.
And Jayce, when Burton was talking to you about the sounds that he wanted to achieve and the kind of the vibe and the feel, it sounds like you were just right on the same page from the off.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember he had a very clear idea of the guitar sound. Which was kind of a very Killing Joke, Geordie from Killing Joke kind of thing, with that hollow body and all of that. But also, like the single note kind of stuff, I got a real good idea because, obviously, as we know, Nirvana stole that riff from Killing Joke, 80s. That sort of notey, dun 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 dun, that kind of sound was very obvious. But there's also a 12-string guitar that was used on the album, and that was more jangly and sort of reminded me a lot of the Byrds and a band called the Byrds and things like that, and Mamas and Papas. There was some really great sounds. But putting those classic sounds into a modern world or modern technique, that was not a challenge, but something I really wanted to take my time on. And I used, believe it or not, albums like Metallica's Black Album, Rammstein's Mutter album, even Therapy. I really love the ambience of drums, the natural room sound, and, where an album wraps around your head. You don't really get that anymore. And so going back to those old organic techniques that were done on tape and all of that, and the recording was something that I really, really honed in on massively to get the Apocrypha album to sound like an album of its own. It doesn't sound like any other band. It doesn't sound like anything else. It sounds like its own record, which is what albums used to sound like. Metallica's Black Album that's the only album that sounds that way. Demanufacture is the only album that sounds that way. And that's something I'm always pushing for, is just to get the vibe of what the band brings at that time in the studio. And it's quite easy to do, to be honest. I think Burton's idea with the guitar sounds and all of that, and the magnitude of how I wanted the mix to sound, it just went hand in hand. So it's a real play on modern and classic all in one, which is what my studio is built as, a modern classic analog studio.
And that's something I wanted to touch upon earlier when you asked what was all, how did it all come together? Working with Jayce at his studio, and not just working with Jayce in general, because he's a fabulous human being. But
$50 again.
Bloody hell! Wow. Well, I'll throw in a $50 as well.
But Jayce, he's built a studio to have really was the answer to all my prayers. It was a modern analog studio using modern technology with classic analog components, which is it's a boutique studio, but it's a very rare studio that's becoming more so popular as the days go by. And Jayce is on the forefront of that type of technology in studio.
I mean, absolutely. I can only agree with you, Burton. I mean, the I would say when our album came out that Jayce did a fantastic job on, I would say probably 7 to 8 out of 10 reviews all name check Jayce and the quality of the production because of that exact thing. It stands out. It's the size. It's that analog feel. And the thing is that it's done by not using all of the technology that's available. Yeah, there's a place for it, but ultimately, if you can mic a drum kit up and make it sound great, that's a lot better than using the samples.
Well, I think the skill. The skill in people understanding how to record drums and make them sound like its own drum kit. When you record that drum kit, you want to use that drum kit sound. You don't want to be, stamping all over it with samples, which is what people do. And the reason they do it is because they just don't understand phase. They don't understand movement of kits. It's a lot of work, but when you get it right, through trial and error, and it helps being a drummer because I know where I want to go. I know what I want to sound like. And so, it's a sad reality that in production, the old school methods of recording a drum kit, and it sounds like a real drum kit. The album sounds real. I mean, that's dying out because you've got slate drums, you've got perfect drums and easy drummer, and then you got all these guitar emulations, from Neural and SLT tones, and that's why everyone sounds the same.
Kemper, all that.
Kemper, yeah.
It's the modeling that's making everyone sound the same.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's you're ultimately having a two-dimensional producer ability, really. I mean, part of the reason why an album sounded like it did was because you had a producer, a mixing engineer, and they worked together, and they understood the value of making this thing sound like its own record. That's gone now. Probably a lot to do with budgets, but that doesn't really bother me too much. For me, it was mostly about learning my craft as a producer, but also getting a clear vision as to where we're heading with this. And it's sad. It's a sad kind of thing that the production world skill is it's a bygone era almost. But I'm going to bring it back, goddammit.
Well, you're doing a good job, and getting the Neves from Rockfield Studios that Queen used for Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean,
the Rosses, the Rosses.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. Oh, I think we might have lost Burton again.
Oh, he's back.
Hooray!
No, I'm here.
Oh, great,
Oh.
Lovely. Well, look, guys. Thank you so much. This is the end of the main interview, but I've got a couple of questions from subscribers. So please don't go anywhere. But for now, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And this new package that's coming out is, I mean, I've heard bits and pieces. It just sounds phenomenal, and I think, like you said, it's a real kind of throwback to those days of a remix album of the album you already have. It's a great idea, and it's just great to see that kind of thing happening again.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm very happy that the album Apocrypha is getting a second chance, really, and with it being released with translations, it's even more of a package for fans. So I think it's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. And like that, they were gone. But of course they weren't, because they stayed to answer Patreon questions. That's right. People who subscribe at Patreon, one of the many benefits that they get of being a patron is they find out who I'm interviewing as soon as I do, and they get to submit questions, and they get their own little podcast, which is different to the rest of you because it contains all of their answers. And isn't that really cool? They get this work, they get the whole thing, they get it early as well. They get a monthly live podcast on Zoom. We do all sorts of features, album reviews, behind-the-scenes stuff, a radio show, a whole extra podcast. So there's loads there. It's all $6 a month. $6 a month, folks. So no need to dig deep. It's only $6. So sign up please at patreon.com/Howard H. Smith, and you will see in the description of this podcast on your device it says, that was thunder. This is fucking metal. In the description it'll say support this podcast. If you click that, you will then be able to join and sign up at Patreon and get all of the wonderful benefits. Now, I told you that that it was total metal, and I'd angered the gods and it had gone all metal. Well, I told you, didn't I? And you just heard the thunder. So, you've heard the thunder. It's the fucking rain. Hammering it down like I have. Honestly, I haven't seen the like. It really is. It's like end of times rain. Like, it's going to keep going all night, and we're just going to wash away in some biblical type flood. I fucking hope not. But if that does happen, it's been a pleasure. It really has. Too late. Can't sign up for Patreon now. We've all been washed away. But look, in all seriousness, thank you very much for supporting the podcast. Really do appreciate it. However you support it, if it's sharing it, if it's writing a review on iTunes, should you be passing, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, make them good reviews as well, please. Don't go spoiling me average. Whatever it is that you do to get behind the podcast, tell people about it, whatever, I really do appreciate it. I really do. It's just that I appreciate people who give me money a little bit more. So if you could just see yourself to being one of them and signing up at Patreon, it's not like I'm asking for fucking... I'm not begging. You do get something for your money. You get a shitload of really cool content. I would say that as A, I'm the one who's producing the content, and B, I'm the one who's selling the content. So admittedly, I've got a lot of skin in this game. I am the game. So yeah, I'm selling hard. But by the same token, everybody who's on there says that they really like it and it's good value. So also, I could be making up as well, couldn't I? Really. So look, I like people who give me money. Sign up, please. Will that do? Anyway, if you've got this far, congratulations. Thank you very much for taking the time to actually listen to the whole podcast. I know some people don't, but hey, however you enjoy it, that's your business. I'm cool with that. That's absolutely your business. Just want to finish off by saying Tom Hunting from Exodus is having surgery for cancer, and so just sending positive vibes to a former tour mate, and somebody who I saw, not so long ago, about 18 months ago. So it would be really cool if that all goes smoothly. Get well soon, Tom, please. So anyway, guys, there's a lot to get through in that podcast, wasn't there? There's a lot to think about. So why don't you go and just do that? Go and have a think about everything that came up in the show. And if anybody is facing troubles with any of the issues mentioned in the show today, you can contact us on www.don'tgiveafuck.co.uk. That is fucking rain.